how's it going? This is Tex. Welcome to Tex Talks. This is another short. This is to tag on to a previous video that was on splitting and black and white thinking. And I talked a lot about how this affects relationships. What I would like to do is bring it in a little bit and talk about how it affects us internally when we do these things. I started off with a video earlier about the importance of mindfulness and why paying attention to what you're doing and what you're thinking and what you're feeling is important so that you are able then to get a grasp of what happens. The idea is if you do something that works well, you do it again. And if it doesn't work well, you analyze it and try to do it differently or do something or, make a change. The thing is, though, is being able to give yourself that honest appraisal. This goes inward then with the black and white thinking, because within our own selves, we start to do this splitting and black and white thinking of an all perfect and an all bad self. Not to get too deep into it, if you look up and read or you catch anything on attachment theory and some of the basic concepts are the mirroring that the caregiver gives to the child to help regulate them, that a child starts to integrate their sense of self instead of keeping themselves split. In other words, as a baby is born and starts to grow, its initial ideas are it splits the outside world into good and bad. And, I've made the joke before, like when mom shows up, and I'm using mom in this case because it goes with my little joke in this. If mom shows up and feeds the baby, that's good titty. And if mom doesn't show up, bad titty. And the baby's mind splits in this fashion. When it gets the bottle or it gets itself changed, it gets the dry diaper, that's the good caregiver. And when it doesn't get this and it's upset and it's angry and cranky, it envisions a bad caregiver. And later on, with time, hopefully, it brings those together. Now, what this does internally is leaves you with a conundrum, because for you to believe that an all good person that you want to be good, that you see as good, treats you in a way that hurts or that you don't like, then you start to turn that splitting into yourself. And in yourself, you start to separate into a good you and a bad you. And the purpose of that is so that you can understand your world. Because when you want to vision someone as being good and they're not being good for whatever reason, I don't mean they're intentionally being bad, it's just that you can't accept what they do, then internally you direct that onto a you that must be bad, that must deserve it, that must be horrible. And you separate that off of you, and so that you now have the bad you and the good you, and you've internally split. And then later on, it's hard, unless you over time are developing it properly, to integrate those. If you don't start to integrate your internal self, then what happens is later on, you will do things like something will happen and you will get, that I make the joke about the 99 compliments and the one derogatory remark, and how we only focus on the derogatory remark. And part of that is survival instinct, because the bad may be dangerous, so you notice it quickly. The catch is, though, is for some people, the idea is they, in that separation, that internal split, that when something is reflected and they are seen as bad, or they see themselves as bad, then they flip themselves into, I'm all bad, I'm stupid, I'm dumb, I'm horrible, how could anyone like me, I'm the worst person in the world. And they pound themselves as being all bad and refuse to see any good in themselves. And again, that's part of a defensive mechanism set up to understand and justify your world. And I know it's, for some people, it's a confusing concept, but valuing your ability to judge your world and the comfort that comes from being able to categorize things actually, to some people, temporarily feels better than actually having a good you. In other words, having a bad you allows your world to integrate itself into a way that you can say, oh, and I'm comfortable because everything has a place and every place has a thing, and this is lovely, and I got that. Even though you've made this really bad you, because you're not all bad and you're not all good. You do shit. Everyone does. You also do good things. I truly believe within every person there is a loving, kind nature. It's in there. The thing is it doesn't always find its way out. And sometimes, because much like a wounded tiger in a cage that strikes out at anything, we strike out at others when people are trying to help us. It's like when you see the poor little dog on the roadside that got hurt and you're trying to help it and it's in such pain, it just wants to bite you because it's in such pain. It doesn't understand the concept you want to help. We strike out. On the same side, we are so in tune or want other people to like us sometimes that we will actually go the other way and let people bite us in order to try to get that love and attention that we want. We're willing to be bit. And then, and again, flipping back into the internal mechanisms, when we get bit, we say, oh, well, I deserve that I did it wrong. I'm a bad person. I wasn't doing well. And we run to that split half of us that we can beat on. So we split internally as well as externally. This is not just the world out here is bad. We sort of divide everything up into camps, and we divide ourselves up into camps of good and bad. And then we act on that. So that splitting mechanism goes in both directions and it occurs in both ways. And again, you're trying to integrate those. I will go into more depth in another video about how to integrate those, but I will touch now on the fact that part of the integration occurs from being able to recognize. So we're back to that old saying, the first step in evading a trap is knowing of its presence. If you cannot be honest, and honest means sit there and go, yes, there is a good and a bad, and they are one person, or I'm good and I'm bad, until you can pay attention, say, yes, I did that thing, and I wished I wouldn't have, but yes, I realized that's something that I shouldn't have done. It just didn't end well. Until you can honestly reflect and admit the good and the bad. See, this is the thing. Most people are very good at one or the other. They're very good at finding all their faults and they beat themselves mercilessly. Or they totally ignore, tortoiseshell. I wonder if there's something in there for that. Freudian slip. Anyway, sorry, squirrel. Put it back into context. The idea is that they will look at other people and even themselves and not notice the bad. They will say, oh, yes, they're just the greatest thing ever. And they won't notice those clues, those subtle hints. And then they're not able to properly defend themselves against those people that might take advantage of them. And they're also not able to recognize those people that would be true friends. See, this is the catch. Being able to understand other people and understand yourself are both necessary to navigate in a world where social interactions are the key to everything. And I will get to the other video to actually go into more depth about integrating the self and healing and getting past those splitting behaviors. Hope you have an awesome day, and I will talk to you later. Bye.